All right, let's dive into one of the most fundamental skills in programming, making your Python code actually interactive. We're going to teach it how to have a real conversation. Let's get right to it.
Think about it for a second. Every single time you use an app or play a game, you're basically having a dialogue with a piece of software. It tells you things, and you tell it what to do. Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain to see exactly how that conversation happens in Python.
So this whole conversation is really just a two-way street. On one side, you've got output. That's the program talking to you. And on the other side, you've got input. That's you talking back to the program. If you can master these two things, you've basically nailed the foundation of interactive coding.
Okay, so let's start with the first part of this dialogue. How do we give our program a voice so it can actually speak to us? Well, in the world of Python, that voice is the print function.
The print function is your absolute go-to for getting anything to show up on the screen. It's super simple. You just type print, add some parentheses, and put whatever you want to show right inside. Could be a welcome message, could be the answer to a math problem, whatever.
Now here's where it gets interesting. You can combine things. The most basic way is just using the plus sign to stick strings together. We call this concatenation. But there is a huge catch, and you gotta remember this. You can only add strings to other strings. If you try to add a number, Python's gonna get confused and throw an error.
A much friendlier way to do things, especially when you're just starting, is to use commas. When you separate items with a comma inside print function, Python is smart enough to figure it all out. It automatically puts a space in for you, and, more importantly, it'll convert things like numbers into strings on its own. No errors, no drama, it just works.
Okay, now for the big one. This is the method that pretty much every professional Python developer uses today, f-strings. You just put the letter F right before your opening quote, and it magically turns your string into this powerful template. You can then put your variables directly inside a pair of curly braces. Just look at how clean and easy to read that is.
So, why are f-strings the industry standard? Two big reasons. First, they're incredibly readable. You can see the structure of your final sentence right there in the code. And second, they are way more powerful than just dropping in variables. Plus, if you care about performance, they're also generally faster than the old methods.
And this right here shows you that power perfectly. You can put actual Python code, like this little addition problem, right inside the curly braces. Python solves the math first, gets the answer 8, and then seamlessly plugs it into the string. How cool is that?
F-strings also make formatting numbers an absolute breeze. Need to round a messy decimal? Just add a colon and tell it how many decimal places you want, like .2f. Want to add commas to a huge number to make it readable? Just add a colon and a comma. It really is that simple. All right, our program can talk. That's half the battle. Now it's time to teach it how to listen. This is the other side of the conversation, where we let the user talk back using the input function.
The input function is basically the mirror image of printing. When your program gets to an input line, it just stops. It pauses completely. It'll show a prompt on the screen, which is just the text you put inside the parentheses, and then it just waits for the user to type something and hit the Enter key. Whatever they type gets captured and stored in a variable.
This brings us to a really important question. And I promise you, this is something that trips up almost every single person when they start coding. If you ask the user for their age and they type 25, does Python see that as the actual number 25?
And here is the big twist. The answer is no. The input function will always, no matter what, give you back a string. It doesn't care if the user typed in digits. To Python, it's just the character 2 followed by the character 5, not the value 25. This is absolutely crucial. You can't do math with it yet. So how do we fix this? It's easy. We use something called type conversion. You just wrap your input function inside another function. If you're expecting a whole number, you wrap it in int. If you're expecting a decimal, you wrap it in float. This little step converts that string of text into a real number that you can finally do calculations with. So, now we have both pieces of the puzzle. We know how to make our program speak, and we know how to make it listen. Let's put them together and have our first complete two-way conversation with Python. Check out this awesome little program. First, it listens. It asks for a name with input. Then it listens again, asking for an age, and, you see that? It immediately converts it to an integer using int. Finally, it speaks back, using a nice clean f-string to combine the name, do a quick calculation, and print a personalized message. That right there is a full dialogue.
Okay, you've seen how it all works, but the best way to learn this stuff is to actually do it. So it's your turn to take the driver's seat and have your own conversation with Python.
Here is a quick challenge for you. First, build a program that just asks for a name, country, and language and prints them back. Simple enough. Second, make one that asks for a birth year and calculates the person's current age. And third, try one that asks for two numbers and prints out their sum, difference, and product. Go ahead and pause here and give it a shot. And let's do a quick recap. Print is for displaying output. Input is for getting user input. And remember, it's always a string. When it comes to formatting, commas are great for beginners. The dot format method is an older style that's still around. But for modern, powerful, and readable code, F-strings are definitely the way to go. This is your go-to cheat sheet.
So we've given our code a voice and ears. It's not just a silent script anymore, it's an interactive partner. This opens up a whole new world of possibilities. You can build simple calculators, text adventure games, you name it. The only real question left is, what are you going to build first?